We're going to start seated, so seating on a block. I'm going to use my favorite cushion here. And just let ourselves have a little bit of time to settle. Just rocking out the cheeks a little bit. Thinking about bringing that pelvis into a neutral position, letting the groins and the hips open out a little bit. So one thing I should say is that we attempt to get the body to a position where we can relax the legs down to the floor fully. If they don't, it could be useful to have either some cushions or a couple of bricks and just put them underneath the back of the thighs so you are resting against something. And it changes the way that you sort of open up and stretch into the groin. As long as the legs are on the floor, it's a relatively easy opening process. But if they're hanging in the air, you've got a lot more weight. So therefore, it's a lot stronger. And at the beginning of the class, we just really want to be quite soft with the body. Talking of that, we'll just check in with our heart. So we'll just bring the left hand onto the breastbone, right hand on top. Let ourselves close the eyes. Slowing the breath down. Noticing how the heartbeat slows with that slowing of the breath. And we'll open the eyes softly. Just release the hands down. I'm going to do some work on the eyes, believe it or not. So we're going to take the thumbs out in front, just holding them level in front of the face. On the inhale, I'm going to take that left hand out as far as you can, looking forwards on the front thumb until you run out of view of your thumb to the side, and then bringing it back. Now, obviously, what you're trying to do is get to a point where you can take your thumb behind your body, and you still see it. Unlikely to happen. It's just testing peripheral vision. We're just making the muscles in the eyes work a little bit more, stretching them out. And then we'll turn the thumbs in towards each other, and we'll take the right up. It runs out of view, bring it back down. Take the left up, just looking ahead till you run out of view. Bring it down, go right down. And bring it back up. And we're going to do the same with the other side. Really hard not to let your eyes follow your thumb. You're supposed to look forwards and just view it out the peripheral. There we go. Then we come back. Simple as that, just to work out the muscles in the eyes a little bit. We'll take some twists. Then we'll take it over to the left. And we're holding the pose. Letting ourselves breathe in and out. Option to look over the rear shoulder, or keep the chin facing where your chest is pointing. Trying to keep the head in alignment with the rest of the body. It's kind of easy to get in a position where you drop the head around a little bit. I find that I have to kind of ease my neck into this some days. And we'll come back, take a breath here or two. Let ourselves come into the second side. Come back to the center. Take it into a little side bend, so look out to the left. Stretch the top arm up, press the bottom hand down, get wide across the shoulders, the head in line with the body. And we'll ease that hand there. And take it across to the second side. Again, just get plenty of length in the body. Press and stretch. I'm going to feel that waistband kind of drawing in a little bit as you lengthen the body. And I'll bring ourselves back into the center. Sitting up nice and tall, we'll just drop the chin in towards the chest. Go into some half neck circles. So we draw the chin over to the left shoulder as we lift the eyes level. And then drop the chin back down to the center slowly as we exhale. Roll it across to the other side. So just noticing where any tight spots are and stretching them out gently. And then coming back to the center. We'll take a little breath and take that strap. And whilst we're doing that, I'm going to take if you've got a strap that's got a buckle, take that into one palm and then wrap the strap around a couple of times so it's out of the way. And then we're just going to lift the hands up above the head. So you're going to have the arms straight. See how that feels. So we're going to drop the arms behind. Try and keep the elbows straight. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Bring the strap down towards our bottom. And then inhale it back up. So you'll need to kind of let the strap release. Bring it back down in front of us the same. Then we'll take it back a few more times. Letting that strap release out to a length that is long enough for you to be able to do this and keep the elbows and the arms straight and the wrists straight. If you're bending too much, you're really sort of taking you past the point where your mobility is happy. And we're just trying to work with what we have and loosening it up. A couple more, or one more. Now when it's behind you, you're going to take the right hand up, bring the strap across the body, down towards the right, and then rotate the left up and around. So it's just a nice big circle. and we'll take it the opposite way. And then release. So I'm going to take a little breath from there and move that into churning the middle. So definitely need to be on the block for this one, need a little bit more stability. Taking the legs out in front, just allow yourself to lift so you're up onto the front edge of the sitting bones. And then have the toes pointing up towards the sky and lengthen out through the heels. So you open up the back of the legs a little bit. Take the hands out in front. And I'm just going to make little circles. So what we're trying to do is tilt the pelvis around and the body follows. Rather than being fixed on trying to make circles with the hands, imagine that that action is coming from right down here. You're rocking around. So just engages your core muscles in a slightly better way. And then we'll take it in the opposite direction. See if that feels different. And we'll come back into the center and just relax that out. Just draw the legs in for a moment, give them a little shake out. And now I'm still going to have the legs out in front. Bring the hands in front of the chest. Interlace your hands, middle, we'll get there in a minute. Index finger, that's the one, pointing up towards the sky. I'm going to try and draw the tummy muscles in. Sit up as straight as you can, lengthen out through the legs, and you're going to draw the hands up above your head. Now, for most of us, the hands will be coming forwards quite a way, but we're going to see if we can draw the hands and the arms and the shoulders towards the back of the mat. And as we do that, you'll probably find that you have to work a little bit more on the core balance to hold yourself up. The arms are as straight as you can keep them. And then we'll release the hands down. And take them behind and allow the chest to lift up towards the skull. Keep the chin in towards the chest. Squeeze the shoulder blades together again. Lift the chest up so it's the heart that lifts. We're still pressing out through feet that points up towards the sky and spreading toes. And then we'll release, draw the belly in. Take a breath from here, fingers forwards as far as we can. And lift the body up. So rather than trying to round the body, we're thinking about just drawing the hips over the thighs. There's a space here, obviously, for us to move into. So just making the best of it. And still lifting up, sending the sitting bones back. And then we can release. Now, the body's still quite tight, so there's a good chance that you didn't come down as low as you would have done if we were doing this towards the end of the class, that's for sure. We're going to come into Dandasana, so we'll bring the feet back together and sit up nice and tall. We're just going to take the left hand and slide it down the right leg, and take the right hand behind the right hip and turn gently. I'm trying to sit up right. Hips are in a slightly different orientation, with the legs out in front. So it will feel slightly different. And come back to the center. And then just slide that right hand down, left leg, left hand behind. And then we'll come back. Bring the hands together again, like we did before with that index finger. Got it right that time. And then lift that up. Try and keep the body as upright as we can. Wow, this is hard work. One more breath. And release the arms out. As you do, just shuffle forwards a little bit off of the block and take the block out to the side. Hands behind gently. Going to bring the soles of the feet to the floor about hip distance apart. Squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit so the chest starts to lift. Going to draw your bottom off the floor and then move your bottom in towards your heel. Now, I've got my fingers pointing forwards towards the front of the mat. If you find it easier to the side or the opposite way around, that's fine. We're lifting up into something called a reverse tabletop. So we're going to lift up the hips, keep the knees following the toes, so they're parallel, thighs, drawing the belly in a little bit, press into the floor. Try and lengthen the buttocks away as you squeeze a little bit into the butt. And then we'll ease ourselves back down. Come back to that seating position. Lengthen the legs out in front. Lift the body up, put a little bend into the knees, and we'll fold over the thighs and see if we can take hands around the outside edge of the feet, if not just holding on to the ankles. And then we're going to lift the body up and forwards and try and draw the shoulders back a little bit. Keeping the feet flexed. If you notice that your feet are rolling out in this pose, try and bring the thighs back in towards the center a little bit. Drawing the belly in. Last breath here. And we'll release. I'm going to cross the ankles over as we draw the feet in. I'm going to roll onto the shins and come up onto all fours. So however you get. I'm not going to stay there long. I'm going to tuck the toes underneath. Lift the hips up towards the sky. I'm going to walk the feet in gently towards the front of the mat, coming up onto tiptoes, rather onto fingertips. Oh God, I'm in a terrible state today. Can't work out what parts of the body I'm using. Hands come onto the shins, lift up. Take the weight into the toes a little bit, tailbone back, chest forwards, fold down. And then let the spine round gently. Ribs on thighs. Again, hands onto the shins to lift up. So the slow breath in. Fold down. See how the back feels, how the hips feel. Coming back again. And one more time. I'm obviously going to be lucky. I've got a little money spider walking across in front. Hands on the hips, soft knees, and lift up with a flat back. Take the hands high as you breathe in towards the heart. We're going to hinge back down to the floor. Bring the hands into the hips. Soft knees and flat backs. Draw up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. We've got 1.5 more of these to do. And hands onto the hips again. Soft knees and flat back to lift up. We'll take that high into the forward fold. And we'll step back with the right foot into a lunge. So being on the fingertips a little bit. Draw the knee down to the floor and untuck the toes. Check your front knee is over your ankle. Bring your hands onto the front thigh to lift yourself away from the ground gently. Take your time to come up so the back has a little bit of time to adjust. Draw the belly muscles in lightly. Take the hands out to the side and up towards the sky. Drawing the shoulders again, just as we did before, towards the back of the mat a little bit. Last breath here, we'll bring the hands in towards the heart, keeping the elbows as high as the shoulders. Rotate round gently towards the left as you breathe in. And then on the exhale, just slowly come forwards. Drop the elbow to the outside of the thigh. Press the heel of the hand together to lift the chest a little more from the ground. Try to keep the chest open. Press the back shin down into the floor. Big toe on the front foot. That's where the balance comes from. Take a little breath here. Slowly release the hands down to the floor. Take a little breath with the toe on the back foot. Step it into the front of the mat. I'm going to sink down into chair pose. Just taking the hands away from the floor and out in front. When the body and the arms line up, drive through the legs to lift up slowly as you exhale. Bring the hands back into heart on the breath in. Exhale it down. And as you arrive, we take the left foot back into the lunge. We let the back knee come down. Untuck the toes again, the hands come onto the thigh to help with the lift. It's slow, we can draw the belly in as we come. Let the arms to float out to the side and up. Now bring the hands in towards the heart. Keep those elbows nice and high. Rotate on the inhale. Exhale it over. A little lift through the chest. And we'll bring the hands to the floor again. Tuck the toe on the back foot. Ease into the forward fold. And then sit back into the squat. Take the hands forwards. Drive through. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Going to exhale down to the floor again. You can take the right foot into the lunge. Dropping the back knee gently to the floor. Bring the hands onto that front thigh again to lift. Let the hands come to the side and then float out and up. Lock the thumbs, palms facing forwards. We'll take a side bend over to the right. Come back into the center as we exhale. Cross the thumbs over the opposite way. And then take it over to the left. So feeling that much more through the front hip flexor on the rear leg. Come back into the center, hands to the floor. Tuck toes on the back foot. Step it in. Sink in low into the forward fold. And then drop in the bottom down. So it's almost a squat. Taken into chair pose. Drive through the legs to lift. Second side, hands into the heart. Exhale down. And left foot back into the lunge. Hands come onto the thigh. There's that lift. Draw the belly in as you exhale and then hold that there. Arms lift. Thumbs interlace. It's over to the left to start with for 3 breaths. We lift up and stretch out with the pelvis. Come back to the center, crossing the thumbs the opposite way. Take it over to the right. Come back to the center, hands to the floor. Step it to the front of the mat. Fold it in deep. Drop it down into that chair pose, keeping the knees tracking where the toes are pointing, and lifting up. Bring the hands into the heart again. Exhale down to the floor. Draw the belly in. Weight into the toes. And take a little breath. Stepping the right foot back. And we're going to take a high crescent this time rather than low. So we're going to bring the hands onto the front thigh. Just checking the is not forward of your ankle. Bring the hands gently up to the lift. So you take your time. Find your balance. Let the hands come to the side. And turn the palms up. And lift. Hands above the shoulders. Now bring the hands to the floor. This time we're just stepping into the front of the mat. Folding down. And bring the hands onto the hips to lift up. Inhale high. Second side. Bring the hands through. Drop down. Get the thighs to lift a little bit. Left foot back into the lunge. Check knee position. Bring the hands onto the front thigh to lift. The hands gently come to the side. Once you're happy with your balance, then you lift. Take as long as you need. Bring the hands down gently to the floor. Step it into the front of the mat. Fold it in. Hands onto the hips again. Long spine, lift up. Inhale high. So we're going to take that high crescent again. Going to add a little twist into it. So taking the breath, right foot back. Hands come onto the front thigh again to lift. Find our balance point. This time we're just taking the hands out as high as the shoulders, palms face forwards. Going to turn the body towards the left, slowly. Look at the eyes, chin, follow the heart. Doesn't matter how far you get around. We come back into the center. And then we'll see if we can take it the opposite way, which will feel easier in the body, but challenge the balance just as much. Bring the hands and the chest back to that forward position. Bring the hands to the floor. Step it in. Fall deep. Hands under the hips. And lift up. Last side. Inhale high. Exhale low. Left foot back. Hands come onto that front side to lift. Use the hands out to the side. So turn to the right first. Try to keep the hands out in line with the chest. So it's just the chest that turns. The arms are moving as a consequence of the torso moving. Coming back to the center. And then the final side. Being careful the knee doesn't drop into the center line. Stays above the ankle. Come back. Back down to the floor. Take a step in. Hands on the hips. And let ourselves lift. We'll shake it all out this time. So the gentle, slow movements, not necessarily gentle as in easy. Still breathing hard, as you can hear. I've moved the brick to the front of the mat, sort of on the center, on the high end. If you don't have a brick, a couple of blocks, just to give yourself a little bit of height off the floor. It's going to be for warrior 3, just to help us to lift up a little bit. So the further away from the floor we are, the easier it is for the body to sort of make that T shape, and then the leg hanging out from the back. Okay, let us step up to the front of the mat. We'll bring the hands into the heart. Step out to the right. Take the feet out nice and wide. Take a little time. See how that feels. And then we'll float the arms out. So we'll make a little start. Turn the feet towards the front of the mat, and we'll sink into warrior 2. So we drop the front knee over the ankle. The back foot is still connected, and the pelvis, although it's pointing slightly off at an angle, and the chest is pointing towards the side mat. These 2 hip bones are the same distance from the floor. We're not leaning into the mat at all. We're just trying to keep the spine up really upright. We'll take a little breath from there. Turn the palm on the front hand. Take it into reverse warrior. So we'll drop the back hand down the outside edge of the thigh. So you can feel the muscles in that thigh activate as you press down into the leg if it's gone to sleep. And we're just stretching up to 12 o'clock. Now we could take the hand further over towards the back of the mat, but we just want to lengthen the body out, the ribs, shoulders, etc. We've done a lot of work through the sort of lower part of the spine, the lumbar area. So the more sort of length we get into it, kind of evens out the workload. We'll come back into our warrior 2. We'll take an extended side angle, so we drop into that front hip. Imaginary line from the head through the hip to the back knee to the floor. And again, we take that top arm up, and we're going to stretch, open the chest up as much as we can. We'll come back, take a little breath, bring the hands in towards the heart, straighten the front leg, turn the toes back to the long side. As we float the arms out wide again into our second star, we turn the toes towards the back of the mat. We come into warrior 2, just the other end. I'll turn the palm on the front hand again. Back hand slides down the back thigh towards the knee, lifting up through the top arm. Coming back into warrior two. Going to lengthen out slowly. Forearm comes down, top arm lifts up. Head stays in line with the body, so it feels like it's lifting up towards the sky. Trying to even the weight out through both legs, turning the chest and opening the body to the long side of the mat. The bottom arm is just pressing into the thigh a little bit to help open out the chest and the groins. Last breath. Come back into warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Let the hands come down as we turn the toes in. Take the arms out wide. Sink into warrior two. Reverse warrior. Inhale up. Exhale back into warrior two. Take a breath in. Extend out. Arms lift as we exhale. Inhale back into warrior two. Straightening the leg. Turn the toes to the side. To the back. Warrior two. Turn the palm. Reverse warrior. Back into warrior two. Extend out. Top arm lifts. Bottom arm presses into the thigh. Breathe in. Release. Warrior two. Straightening the leg. Turn the toes to the side. To the front. Warrior two. Reverse the warrior. Come back. Warrior two. Extended side angle. Back into warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Turn the toes. Into the back of the mat. Warrior two. Turn the palm. Reverse warrior. Warrior two. Extend over the front thigh. Open up. Breathe in. Come back into warrior two. Straighten the leg. Turn the toes. Let the hands come down. And just sort of shimmy, shimmy, shimmy the legs back in. Turn the palms forwards and let yourself close your eyes. Feel the balance through the feet, moving through the legs. The legs are going to feel a bit funny. I've had quite a bit stretched in that last couple of minutes. So bringing ourselves back into our center. Bringing the energy back in. As we open the eyes, we'll step up to the front of the mat. Take the feet about hip distance apart. Ease the hands in towards the heart. Going to exhale forwards slowly. And soften the knees as you need. We'll take the right foot to the back of the mat. Take a little breath. We'll drop the heel in and we're going to come into warrior two. So bring the hands onto the front thigh to lift up. And we'll open up. Once we've done that, we'll take the arms up towards the sky. Going to rotate the chest and the shoulders gently. And float forwards and take the hands onto that brick as far forward as we can without taking the knee further forward so it stays in the same position. So I want that to be more or less the center line of the mat. Then we're going to turn the back heel up towards the sky. I'm going to lean into the front leg and lift the back foot away from the floor, drawing the belly in on an exhale. Draw the chest forwards, toes point down towards the ground. Try and straighten the standing leg without pressing the knee back. It's a little bit of a judgment call. It's better if you can look directly down to the floor underneath the head rather than back towards your toes. Otherwise you start to round your spine a little bit. One more breath, and then we'll soften the front knee and see if we go back into the lunge with control. And then once we've landed softly, we'll bring the fingertips to the floor and step it into the forward fold again. Folding in deep. Bring the hands onto the hips. One more side to do. Lift up. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Breathe in. Exhale over and down. We'll step it back on the left side. Drop the heel in. So it's heel to heel alignment. Hands come onto the front thigh to lift. Open up. Into warrior two. Float the arms overhead as we breathe in. It's a slow rotation and lengthen out. And bring the hands gently down to that front brick. So again, try not to let yourself travel forwards into that front knee as you come down. You can adjust once you arrive. Spin the heel on the back foot. Take a breath, and then when you're ready, you push a little off the toes. Exhale, draw the belly in, rather than holding the breath. And then just lengthening the body out. You might need to wriggle the block around underneath you to find a little bit more of a balance, depending on what your legs and hips are doing underneath you. That'd be a little bit more intuitive. A couple more breaths here, just lengthening the body, lengthening the back leg, straightening the standing leg, spreading the weight through the foot. And then we soften the front knee and ease it back into the lunge with grace. Bring the hands onto the floor, take a little breath, and we step it in. Hands come onto the hips, and we lift up. Bring the hands in towards the heart, and we turn again to the right. Take the legs out nice and wide. Now have the toes turn in a little. Bring the hands onto the hips, so fingers are on those front hip bones. Going to lengthen the body up as you draw the belly in, and slowly hinge over. Maybe take in more than a breath. There might be an in-breath and another exhale. Maybe there'll be 3, maybe there'll be 4. And taking a breath and easing our way down to the ground. So just letting the hips move, the spine follows. And then once we think we've gone as low as we can, we bring the hands underneath. Take a little breath here. See what happens on the exhale. If there is more space to hang into, then great. If you're at your edge, that's good as well. Wherever you are, try to keep the weight even between the foot. So remember, you've got the front and the back of the foot, and you're trying to balance between the two. And trying to lift the hips up towards the sky a little bit. And then we'll lengthen the body out. Come up onto the fingertips. And we're going to zig the heels in. Then I'm going to zig the toes in. And then I'm going to zig the heels in again. Allow my bottom to sink down. So that works on my legs. My legs might be different lengths to yours. So you might have more or less zigs and zags. But you want to have the knees over the top of the ankles, the feet pointing out to the sides, sort of 45 degrees-ish. The bottom needs to be no lower than the knees. They're generally going to be a little higher. Start to take the hands onto the front of the thighs and lift the body up a little bit, pressing down. And just draw the belly in. Try and lift up as straight as we can, which won't be particularly straight. Yeah, it's not going to be like we're leaning against the wall exactly. Now, if you like to, you can rock a little bit from side to side. Some people like to be, absolutely static. Some people have got their feet out a little wider. Some people like it a little bit more underneath them. We're spreading the weight through the shoulders a little bit and the arms as well. So we're taking some of the strain out of the spine muscles. And then we're going to release the hands. So we're going to draw the belly in, fold down. Then take the hands away from the thighs, move close to the ground. Walk the fingers around to the front end of the mat. Step ourselves back into down dog, just as a transition so we can lower the knees to the ground. Untucking the toes. And we'll sit back onto the heels. And let ourselves sit up nice and tall. Relax the shoulders back. Think about the spine alignment. So the crown of the head reaches to the sky. Now, one of our favorites is the toe squat. So we're just going to bring the hands forwards a little bit, lift up enough so that we can tuck the toes underneath, have the heels underneath the sitting bones, and sit back gently. Now, if that feels okay in the toes, and you want to take a little bit more weight down to stretch those ligaments and tendons and muscles in the feet a little more, you can come up high. Again, just allow the hands to sit gently on the front of the thighs. We don't hold it for terribly long. Choice between this and a Cadbury's flake, I think I'd definitely go for the flake. Last breath in, and then we can release. So we're going to bring hands forwards again. You might need to tap out the toes a little bit until they feel like they've got some life back in them. And then we're going to come down onto our elbows. So we're going to come into Sphinx pose. So the forearms are parallel and the elbows are just in front of the shoulders. We lower the spine gently and the belly to the floor as we untuck the toes about hip distance apart. The heels are turning out very slightly. We lengthen the legs, lengthen the buttocks away as well. There's a bit more mind-body connection required for that. Turn the palms down, press into the forearms, stretch out the shoulders, you lift the chest, draw the belly in. So doing everything you can to make the spine long. Now, one of the things that's quite often seen in studios is that students try and lift the head to look directly forwards, and you end up getting those sort of creases in the back of the neck. Think about the curve of the spine. The neck wants to follow that. So if your lift is quite shallow, your head will be pretty much in a position where your eyes are looking towards your fingers. That's where your face is pointing. And then we're going to release down to the ground and bring the hands up underneath the chin, elbows out to the side, and wriggle out the hips a little. And then bring the hands again underneath the shoulders. Elbows tucked tight into the body. Chin comes down to the ground. Inhale up for low cobra. Just roll the shoulders back a little bit at the top. And exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale down. Again, we're trying to roll the heels out. I know as I lift, my heels roll back in again. which means I'm squeezing all the muscles around the spine. And I want to really have the spine muscles not squeezing onto the spine. I want to be lengthening up and back and down, so that it's working on the lift rather than compressing the nerves and those muscles in. I just want them to be lengthening and stretching. Getting a little mind connection, visualize those muscles just working in the up and down the body plane rather than centering. One more. And then as you come down, we're going to roll onto our backs from here. So we're going to keep the head the same end of the mat. And I'm going to move my block, which is relatively close, and put it underneath the back of my head. But if yours isn't and you don't want to go with it, that's fine. Not the end of the world. It's your class. I'm going to bring the feet in towards the bottom and lengthen the spine out a little bit, roll the shoulders underneath them. We're just going to come into a gentle spinal twist. So I'm going to let the legs drop off down to my right side. Turn the head the opposite direction, keep the shoulders on the ground. You can try and sense the hips moving away. Again, working on lengthening the spine out, not worrying about where the legs drop down to, or whether they stay together or are apart. Just letting them be themselves. And then we'll lift the knees back. Realign. Take it over to the second side. And I'll bring that back to the center. And draw the right knee in towards the chest. Just going to take the hands around the shin or the back of the thigh. That leg easing towards the armpit. And then a slow, gentle stretch of the left leg out down the center line of the mat. And just let that leg be. Try and let it relax. Most of the time when we do this, we're kind of pressing out through the heel and making a great effort to move in particular ways. This is more a see where it goes kind of philosophy. We'll draw the left leg back in, swap over right to left. And then again, a slow, easy lengthen out through the right leg. And just let it find its own place. Kind of rocking around on the heel a little bit. See whether you roll in or roll out, or don't roll at all. And then we'll draw everything back in. And have a little hug. So I'm going to draw the chin in towards the chest. And bring my arms around the shins. You could just bring both knees in and keep the spine very flat to the floor, or take a more rounded position if you wish. And then we're going to let the feet come to the ground. Bring the hands out to the side, palms facing up. And slide a foot gently out to each corner of the mat. Eyes are closed, jaw is soft. So begin to stretch the fingers and toes. Gentle movement into the wrists and ankles. Slowly inhale into stretch. Exhaling out. Take a final hug or rock. If it feels good. And then we'll roll gently onto our right side. Come into a nice tiny little ball. Take a few extra breaths here. And then use the hands to press into the floor as we exhale to come back up gently. So into that favored seating posture that you may have. Allow yourself to wriggle into a nice straight line with the spine as you bring the hands in towards your heart. Taking a deeper breath in, close the eyes. Let the chin drop. Bow gently to the floor to seal your practice for the morning. Let the breath come back in, lifting the body. Head lifts, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me on this Saturday morning. Have a lovely weekend. See you soon.